Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name is Connor Chadwick.
And I'm Daniel Patton. And on today's podcast, myself and Connor will be talking about our stories from DW 2012's Short Tales Wave 2.
And I will be talking to Allan Rafferty about his role in the new release coming next month, Time Traveller, The Final Act.
Very nice. Yeah. So, how have you been, Connor? How have you been, my friend?
I've been alright, keeping busy. I think the world is starting to return to some form of normality now. Well, I don't think it will full normality, but you're going to the cinema later tonight, aren't you?
Hopefully, if we can find something to watch. The only thing that's new that we haven't watched is New Mutants, but I don't think that's what we're going to go see.
No.
After what we've heard,
the reviews of that are that it's the worst X-Men film made, which is quite a statement.
Considering what the X-Men film we had the year prior.
Well, Dark Phoenix was an entertaining hour and a half. I think it was an hour and a half.
It was only two.
It just fell short of some character beats and the usual things that you'd want.
Yeah, but still, we're not here to talk about X-Men. We're here to talk about us and Doctor Who and Time Traveller and all that wonderful stuff.
Oh yes. Yeah. So, well, I haven't asked how you are. Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm feeling a little ill. Not the illness that's been going around recently.
For the next couple of years now, anytime someone says they're ill, everyone's going to back away. And you'll be like, no, not like that.
I've got a cold, and that's prevented me from really recording for the last for last week. Really, I've been trying to get some recording done, not just for audios for us, but also for like some of John's audios and some other stuff. And so if I go a little groggy in this podcast, I'm very sorry.
Yeah. Oh, did I mention in the last podcast about my ears?
Oh yes, how is your ears now, sir?
Well, just to recap, May's podcast, which was, I believe, I think it was May, or was it June's? I think it was one of those two. So basically, the last couple of podcasts, I've been having really muffled hearing. That's all gone now. I think it was at the beginning of August when my ears cleared. I have it written down in my diary, but I don't want to waste this podcast with you waiting for me to flick through pages. I think it was the beginning of August when they popped. Well, they popped like within a couple of days of one another. But yeah, I can hear again. So that whole joke that we made last time about going what was it that disclaimer in front of any audios I've made during that time? Going, disclaimer: this audio was edited by a deaf person. That no longer applies. Although I have listened back to some of them and gone, a little bit louder than I would have had it. But at the same time, it's all schedule uploaded and everything's been put together for it. It's just going to be a huge task. So
there'll be a brief time where the audios are slightly louder than usual.
Yeah, just adjust your volume accordingly.
Yes. But at least you have been re-gifted the gift of hearing, sir.
Yes, indeed. And I will make sure not to mention it again, because I generally can't remember if I mentioned it in the last one or not.
If you're working on anything else, well, there's something you did put up on your Instagram story in August of a new volume of a new series featuring one of the characters within your era. Shall we briefly touch on that?
I've been toying with the idea of calling Chelsea an Overton Audios veteran. Well, she's been in most of my things since since the 4th episode of Resurrection ever. No, in fact, she cameoed in the 3rd one, so she's actually been a part of it since 2017 sort of time.
She's been here nearly since the beginning.
Well, yeah, exactly. So but spoilers, it's got Chelsea in. It's a lot of people didn't clock on to it. That's something I mentioned to Alan, which you'll hear in the upcoming segment. A lot of people didn't really clock on because it's you know her as Julia Breslin, but her assassin name, because she's the great assassin in the universe, her assassin name is the Crimson Hunter. And that's what this series is about. It's an origin story for her and how she joined. And, well, in Series 2, Episode 8 of Resurrection, we meet one of the survivors of her wrath. And that is about how this volume, or like origin story for her, is about how that happened. And how, it does lead into the greatest party in the universe. Not directly, but the context for who and what is going on in that story.
Yeah. It's like I think we were talking about doing a Crimson Hunter volume for I think ever since that you wrote that episode. I think there's always been this sort of idea to go back and see.
But then, what really pushed me to do it actually was watching the Black Widow trailer.
Yeah,
for Marvel, the MCU's Black Widow. Black Mirror is a different thing completely.
Yeah, but definitely, I think like as well as that, just like I feel like there's because Julia as we know her is a very different character compared to how we know her in Crimson Hunter, and it was a lot of fun to sort of explore that background and to see what this character was like before the Doctor arrived in her life.
Well, yeah, and certainly, and I think it goes without saying, because Dan, you've also written one episode as well. It's a very different tone to what you'd be expecting. Certainly after you read the first episode, you were like,
I was writing episode 2 alongside someone else was writing episode 1, and you were saying, "I'll keep it light, and this is still in the world of Doctor Who," and then and then you script edited episode 1, and it has swearing. It's basically a hard R rated series now, and I kept it nice in tone, and I'm
but
I'm going back on.
We were allowing swearing.
Yeah. But you said keep it. You said even when it comes to swearing, keep it. Maybe like one F-bomb or something like that. Not too much cursive language. And then when I got that episode back, I'm like, okay, I'm taking episode 2 back, and I'm rewriting it because I went too soft.
Yeah. Well, what happened was when I was reading the episodes that had been written, part of me just thought like something about it feels too safe. Like, this is the greatest assassin in the universe. What are you expecting? You expecting like, you know what I mean? Are you expecting everyone like, you know what I mean? It's not going to be Doctor Who level, and Torchwood exists in Doctor Who, and when certainly it's 100% certainly when you think about like the way that Torchwood was, especially series 1 of Torchwood, that technically happened whilst, well, if you really want to think about it, it was whilst the 10th Doctor was still around.
Doctor Who exists in a universe where there are sex clouds, aliens who absorb the orgasmic energy from people.
Well, that's the same thing.
I think it's safe.
But we don't do anything like that at all.
No,
there's nothing like that at all. But it is graphic in a. There is a sexual nature to it, is what I'll say.
Well, we'll leave it at that, I think, and
but that's coming out all in one day, in May next year. I'm essentially, I think we've spoken about this briefly on the podcast, but if not, news to everyone. If I'm ever doing 3 episode volumes, depending on the subject or anything like that, they will usually be all released within one day. Because, I don't know, with the short amount that it is, part of me just thinks there's no point in a 3 episode series taking up so much time. Obviously, with Resurrection Season 4 at the moment, I wouldn't want to release that all in a day.
Well, considering how much time you spent making that, I like to just let it out in segments. Plus, I think it's...
Oh, yeah, and it's also giving me a good break, because at the moment, I know that, well, for all year this year, everything's been twice a week, whereas this, solidly, has now been once a week, so it's really given me a lot of time to get on with things.
Definitely. We have done we've done significant progress on Uncharted Past, as well as on as Crimson Hunter, and other projects are also in the works. In a time that Resurrection Season 4 has been releasing.
Oh yeah, and I also want to say a personal thank you to people who commented on the podcast who were concerned for me. Because obviously it feels like this month has taken ages to happen for me. Because that podcast where we made those announcements, they don't feel like last month to me. But anyway, thank you to everyone who have voiced their concerns and were very, but also very supportive as well. I have taken a lot more of a back seat on things, but I have been writing still. Like I finished writing a new audio book. I mentioned last month's podcast that I want to give the Cravat Doctor a rest from forecast audio dramas, and of course, with my elements of my life now changing, I wouldn't be able to afford the time, let alone the talent. So with this, I've written an audio book for the Cravat Doctor, which will be coming out the middle of next year as a volume of 3. I haven't finished those 3, but they're well on their way now.
Yeah. Which is also very exciting. And speaking of audio books, and shall we move on to the DW 2012 short tales?
Why not?
What about the high mountaintops of Sierra 7AP? The doctor said with great confidence, with the nervous twinge in his voice after hours of arguing with Maggie.
I'm not a fan of heights,
Maggie reluctantly said. The doctor collapses in the TARDIS chair, unleashing a sigh of defeat. What do you want to see then? A time traveller can only suggest so much.
Oh, Elle, how are you? Asked the doctor fondly.
Well, I'm still well, still alive and kicking, keeping the band going, you know what I'm saying? What's this get-up you're wearing there?
Oh, do you like it? The doctor asked, feeling very smug about himself. Elvis shrugged, saying he preferred the broad. The doctor rolled his eyes, adding that was typical. Elvis then set his eyes on Julia.
Who is this lovely lady?
Hi, my name's Julia Breslin.
Julia said nervously.
So, for Wave 2 of DW 2012 Short Tales, myself and Connor were brought along to write and narrate our own stories. And incidentally, we both wrote stories based around two musical icons, which is the Beatles and Elvis Presley.
Not planned.
So, not planned, which is funny enough because we were sort of bundled together in that sort of sense, but saying that it wasn't planned at all. So, Connor, tell us about your story. Tell us about like the thought process and how you came up with it.
King of Rock is essentially like my version of Rosa in a way. Obviously, it's still set in the 50s. It's set in America in the 50s. But obviously, it's about Elvis Presley and a man who wanted to be the king of rock, but it was always living in like Elvis's shadow. He bear in mind he's from the I think what number was it? Like I think it was a 28. I think it was the 28th century. I've forgotten now because I wrote it a little while ago. But he's always been compared to Elvis because he looks like him and uses similar styles, and he's not called original, but he's really good at doing what he does. So he decides to go back in time and become Elvis, kill Elvis and take his place and get the glory he always deserved. That idea actually stemmed from some little photoshops that you've done, Dan. You did some photoshops of doctors from within the DW 2012 universe meeting famous celebrities from throughout time. So one of them was a Photoshop of myself and Chelsea, as Julia Breslin, stood with Elvis. And that particular photo you used, it was a photo of Elvis smiling with two people stood looking at him. Was looking through them across their shoulders to Elvis. You can probably find it if you Google it. And I thought, and you photoshopped me and Julia stood next to him, but I was giving a very stern look. And I thought, what if, because Elvis was always quite a laid-back sort of person, what if someone's threatening Elvis and he's just laughing at them? And whilst me and Julie were taking this very seriously, what if someone's trying to kill Elvis? And it was just for fun, wasn't it? Because you'd done one of yourself, and we were just thinking, oh, that would be that's a good backstory that we'll reference if we need to. And then it's happened.
Yeah, definitely. And as for the photo itself, I'm not sure when that actual Photoshop edit will come out. I mean, it's part of another project. It may materialize at some point, but for now, it's sort of the context of the photos now been explained in short tales, which is a lot of fun. And it was quite funny because I said, what celebrity would you like to meet? He said Elvis, so I photoshopped you and Chelsea with Elvis, and we were just like thinking, what's the story here?
Yeah, because you had a Photoshop done with the Beatles, didn't you?
Yeah, and I had two done. One of them was with the Beatles, and it's nothing like. I might have to redo it now because it's nothing like how the story actually goes, because it's just me in a bar with the Beatles. It's not on Abbey Road, or it doesn't have Zygons or even Maggie in the photo, so I have to redo it and with more references to the story. But for my story, I just, because Maggie, Maggie's character, I base her a lot off the real life actress Anya, who's a massive fan of the Beatles, so I thought it'd be fun to. So I wanted to do a story where Maggie is like a super fan of the Beatles, and she's trying to contain her excitement to meet them, and saying, "Oh, we're going to go to Abbey Road," but it turned out to be Abbey Road pub in Liverpool, which is an actual place. Because I thought it was just like be a funny. It'd be a funny gag.
Plus, it's very doctory to do. Like, you get the right name, but it's just the wrong place. Like, like Tooth and Claw, where they go to 1979, but he misses it by 100 years and goes, "Oh, it's 1879." Oh, same difference. I like those. I like that little bit. I don't think my doctor's ever done that yet.
Well, there's still time yet, mate.
Yeah.
But, and then I was like, okay, but who would be a good idea? Who would the villains be? And I thought, I really like the Irish Doctor to face the Zygons, so I thought, the Zygons. The idea originally was like the Zygons were like the threats and the Beatles would help. I thought, but then Dom actually recommended, the Zygons are the Beatles in disguise, and I thought that's brilliant. That was brilliant. And the brilliance of Dominic Greenwood Martin there.
Oh, lovely.
But so that's how that story came to be, and it was a lot of fun, and it was the first time I really put my English accent back into audio form for.
Oh yes, because you were narrating, you'd put on an English accent, didn't you?
Yeah, and I apologize immediately to any English folk out there who are traumatized by me putting on English accent. I can guarantee you it won't happen again. It won't happen again.
Are we forgetting the English Doctor? Because as of recording, he appeared in the wrong cravat.
Well, again, it won't happen again. So going forward from this podcast, it won't happen again.
Oh, right then.
And plus, that was archived audio from a previous. So that
was archived audio
again
from 2016, from before I was even a part of this all.
Yeah.
So it was that parallel Doctor, wasn't it? Where the next incarnation after me was an English you.
Indeed, yeah.
How weird
the world it's weird to think that's 4 years ago now since I recorded that audio.
Yeah, and it just came out last week. If you think I plan far in advance, then you haven't seen anything now.
Oh God, yeah.
Half a decade in the making.
Indeed.
Yeah, I found it interesting doing some audiobooks though, because I've had some people sometimes say that I should try it. And I could never really properly get into it. It was always just, I don't know, I thought I'd give it a go with this, and I'm glad I did. And it certainly opened my eyes to an easier way of audio making. But I think part of me will never truly leave, like, full cast audio dramas. But
yeah,
I'm giving it a go, and like with some of the Cravat Doctor stuff, and I'm just giving him a break. Especially after season 4. I need it and he needs it.
But still, I think it was still good to testing the waters when it came to the audiobooks, and now you're going ahead with them. So I think it was a successful test.
Oh yeah, it takes much longer. It takes much longer than a script, though. I'm better at scripting than I am actually. The whole that sounds stupid when I say, but the whole writing thing. But like for me, it's a case of I've got so used to writing stories in script form. It just doesn't work for me anymore, you know.
I get what you mean, mate.
So it took me about a month. It took me about a month to write that audiobook, and I'd written one half of it. It had taken me about 2 weeks, and last night I was just sat there going, I need to finish this because otherwise I've not written anything over this weekend. I always try to write or edit at least one thing per weekend to try and keep on top of it when I'm so busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all in all, I think I'll warm into audiobooks. I've been listening to some more big finishes, Doctor Who short trips. Just trying to get into them, and I've listened to 4 series out of the 10 so far, but I'm keeping up with the releases that are happening right now. So technically, I've only got up to series 9, and I'm on series 5 at the moment. So that's all right. But I think it would be good in certain things. I've got some ideas for some time traveler audiobooks, which I'll see if they work out. But like I said, I'll always sort of have a soft place in my heart for full cast audio dramas. But speaking of audio dramas, shall we go to the segment with Alan where we talk about Time Traveller, the final act?
Absolutely, yeah.
Overton Audios presents.
Was this doubt at this point in the mission?
What mission? We got to break into Fawn Court building and use most of their weapons to change the past.
I've lived in the future you're about to experience. I cannot be there.
Keep all guns on them at all times.
This isn't necessary.
You killed 5 of my best men getting out of here. You are very, very important to us.
Turn around and face me. I'm armed, Crimson.
Robert, you always are.
She needed support.
She had me, her brother.
It was in little James Whitfield.
Oh my god, it can't be.
I decided to involve myself in the enhanced program because we need more like them.
We need to stop Thorncorp's plan to create enhanced individuals.
Time Traveller, the final act, coming the 17th of October 2020 at 12 p.m.
Welcome back to the podcast, and here I am with Allan Rafferty.
Hello all.
How are you, Alan? Are you alright?
Not bad, sir. I'm very, very much looking forward to being part of this podcast.
Oh, that's good. So, me and Alan I was thinking about this just before we even went on Skype to start recording. We've actually known each other for 10 years.
10 years, dude. No, now I'm starting to feel really old, but yes, we have. We have indeed.
The irony of it is that the first time we actually spoke was, I remember the month and the year, but not the actual specifics. I just know that it was November 2010, which is actually, technically, it's been 9 years and 10 months, but oh well. And essentially what we were doing was I was interviewing you over Skype.
I remember.
But I was not filming Skype. I had my camcorder set up in front of the computer. I was pretty much just filming the laptop screen with you talking on it, and I was interviewing you about Time Agent.
I remember it well. Like the thing is, right, I've known of you since before then, so it's actually been a lot longer. It's actually been more like 13 years, maybe.
Oh my God.
Something like that, since I first probably saw one of your videos. So it's a lot longer, but no. And then eventually, weirdly enough, 13 years ago, I'm watching the video of someone who I didn't know would one day be at my wedding. How weird is that? That's just weird, isn't it? I mean, that's a bit strange.
See, that's kind of the beauty of it as we've grown older and everything.
Exactly, and this is the thing, isn't it? We've developed an actual friendship, and what's been really cool is that, like, you know, fan films started us on our journey to learn a little bit more about how to make films and stuff, and over time we've refined our own styles. We know what we're doing now, And yeah, and I think we bonded more so over filmmaking than we did Doctor Who, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember, well, when you and I first spoke in 2010, we didn't start speaking every day after that. That kind of started in September 2013.
Yeah.
Where we were talking. Do you remember? Well, we were talking about the original Time Traveller before the audios that we'll discuss shortly, and even the visuals that we've done. It was the original series that I'd started back in 2010.
Way back when, and I really wanted. You offered me a part, didn't you? It was in the 5th series. You showed me a 4th series, and I watched the 4th series, and I was really getting to grips with it because I used to watch your videos quite frequently, and I remember watching them thinking, come on, Chadders, you've got to get better than this. Well, not Chadders, it would have been Connor at the time. I wasn't really a big fan of where you were going because it seemed that 3 years had passed and you hadn't really done much. And then I remember the first assignment film came out, and it was the first time when you had used like a collection of different shots, and I was like, oh my god, breakthrough! So obviously, I mean, I was also, like I say, on the same journey. And like I think we caught up to each other in a way in knowing what we were doing with films. So by the time we started speaking in 2013, like I thought Time Traveller Series 4, the original, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. You were telling me about struggles that you'd had, and then we were going to do a 5th series, weren't we? And I was going to be in it.
Yeah, it was. Well, for those who are familiar with Time Traveller, it was the character of there was Commander Tom Brant. It was played by our good friend Ted. He's been a character since series 2 on and off, and he was going to be one of the main characters because basically by the end of series 4, everyone was dead.
Pretty much.
Except for Brant. We had this idea of reimagining the series and just doing that big leap. When big, well, not that we were this, but when big established shows change their cast completely to try and reinvigorate the same feeling of the show, but also simultaneously taking risks.
Yes, and as a result of that,
it never happened.
Well, no, it didn't. But the character that you created for me was a character called, I think it was it Milton? Was it Robert Milton Black? Was that how it started?
Yeah, because Ollie, who produced Time Traveller Tom and has produced some Time Traveller from the rebooted one, the one that we're going to be talking about. He found some old Word documents that you and I had written up.
Really? We went really into it because I was a massive fan of the TV series The Mentalist, and I wanted the character to be almost inspired by that character. So
he in the original series he was Brant's Brant was his mentor. And in the first and this is what I mean, like the first episode where we got the only original character from the that you can reference from the previous series of Time Travel, and he's dead in the first episode.
Exactly.
I mean, it was to show the stakes, wasn't it? Going, oh yes, you remember him, yeah. Now you feel safe because you know him. He's gone now.
He's not here.
And
he doesn't exist anymore. He's gone.
Yeah. But then I knew the thing in hindsight, because at the time I thought it would be interesting how wrong I was. That even though Nathan had died in the epilogue, which was even set before series 4, we'd made that before. Nathan comes back to life anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was meant to be like a story crossing over 2 teams because there was a huge argument, and they were meant to be one unit, but they'd gone in their own separate directions. It would, again, that's not a bad concept, having 2 people fighting for the same thing but opposing one another at the same time. That's an interesting idea, I feel. But it shouldn't have been Nathan.
And
don't know why it had to be me.
But then eventually it sort of it's basically because when you're younger and you're making films, you want to star in them, I think. And I mean, I never changed with that. I always wanted to star in my films, but I started making films because I wanted to act. So there you go. But in terms of Time Traveller, obviously later on down the line when you did the reboot series 1 and 2, and then you said you were going to do a 3rd series, and we discussed what we were going to do with Robert Black, because we had all but dropped that possibility that happening.
Yeah, because we kind of put to bed, and you'd played the character of Barry Trotter.
Of course, yes, I played the character of Barry Trotter, who was based very heavily on J. Jonah Jameson.
Harriet, this had better be good.
I know, it's about Dataline.
No, Harriet.
Oh, just stop.
Harriet, please move.
Look at this.
What's this?
Evidence.
Emails between Mr. Bennett and his staff. Where did you get this?
His old member of staff. She's in one of the homeless shelters in Malden.
All right. I understand what you mean now.
So we were like, well, maybe that, maybe that's not going to happen now. But it did.
And... because we were discussing it. I still remember these Skype calls that we had about Series 3 very, very vividly, because we were talking about, Blake Snyder's beat sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were trying to put it down, and then I remember us having a little argument about it. And nothing bad or substantial, because in the end it worked out for the best, but we were talking about how in that first episode you were saying, no, we need to stay with Jason because he's the new character, and I was saying, no, but Noah's the more familiar one. People aren't going to like it if it's someone new. They want to see familiarity. And we were arguing, if you remember that you wanted it to be from Jason's perspective.
Yeah, I remember.
Because by this point, we were usually filming series back to back and having them come out yearly, but this one had a year break, and then the wood coming out the following year, so it would be a 2-year break that we were talking about, discussing it and saying it needs to be brought in to a more familiar audience and to reintroduce people who may be new. Because I think with Time Traveler Retribution, it was supposed to be you could watch it as if it were a standalone, not connected to anything, which is why you wanted it from the new character's perspective. And that we're seeing already established characters being introduced as if you don't know them. Yeah,
exactly. And I thought
which worked.
Yeah, which did work, yeah. And then obviously we were talking about Robert, and I was discussing how interesting these things are in terms of things aren't always black and white, and so obviously the characters that we've been following and rooting for, and they've been traveling back in time to try and change things. I said, why don't we actually look at someone who it's altered time for, but not in a good way? I thought that would be really fun.
When I came back from my last job, Phone Corp was gone. Everything I'd ever known had gone. See? Everything I had in my possession was still there. I knew what had happened.
So, you were travelling back when it all changed?
Correct.
Essentially, Robert Black, he is an old friend of one of the main characters, Noah Crimson, who didn't want time to be changed because he was comfortable and safe in what he was doing. He had the security, and he was realistically, he's one who got out the other side unscathed, whereas others didn't. But he trusted Noah not to do anything rash, and then obviously the title speaks for itself of the series, Time Traveller. He did something rash.
Yes, and that really affected Robert's reality. So I think when we see him in the visual series, he's very angry, very upset, very hurt, very betrayed, and kind of seems like he's a villain actually, because he really has got it in for one of the main characters. But I think
he's an anti-hero. He's a bit like Han Solo,
Yeah, I'll take that.
like Han Solo's. You love him, but he's only looking out for himself.
He's a bit rugged there.
Yeah, and Robert isn't trying to change anything or do anything in his favour. He's trying to put things back on track so things don't get more damage. So in a way, it is a noble cause.
Yeah.
But by keeping things on track, the bad guys are going to win. And it's right. So you are against him, but you are also thinking that, well, he's got good reasons.
He has, and it's weird because he's not really in Thorncorp's favour. It's not like
he's in his own favour, really.
He's in a neutral favour. He's in Time's favour in a way because he wants things to unfold the way that they did. Because certain things are wiped out of existence that he was very happy about, and unfortunately, it has affected
entirely.
his reality.
To be honest, he loses his life. Not,
Exactly.
I mean, he still exists, but everything that was in his life, his home, his achievements, loved ones, they don't exist. He doesn't have a family. He is non-existent.
Exactly, and imagine that. Imagine that reality where all the people that you know don't exist anymore. Suddenly, it's like, well, actually, the good people, the good characters, maybe they're not so good. Maybe their choices are selfish, and maybe it just put into perspective that actually maybe things just have happened for reasons that they were meant to happen. And I think Robert isn't like coming back saying, do you know what, you guys need to let Thorncorp win because Thorncorp are the best. He's just saying that's what happened. You can't change that, and if you change that, other people are affected negatively.
Yeah, well, that's something that's said in the volume that we've done that's coming out. Well, as of this recording, it'll be coming out next month. Time Traveller: The Final Act. Robert is talking about the fact that we've all lived our lives around Thorncorp. We know how to. Why is it a problem? It's like we might not like it. We might not be a fan of this idea, but we've gone all right so far, and we've got what we've got.
Exactly.
And you want to lose everything just so you don't have to live with Thorncorp. It's like, it's like, what? Why would you sacrifice everything you've ever known just to get rid of one thing that's a bit of a hindrance, but ultimately we've been able to live with?
And I think the Doctor puts it very well in Series 9 when he's talking about war and how the winners, like, they always become the enemy, and I think it's quite similar.
Doctor Who, right?
In Doctor Who, in Doctor Who Series 9, when he's talking about how when the war speech, basically talking about how the winners of the war become the enemy, and then there's just another war, and it's quite similar here. Like, Robert's kind of like, well, you want to defeat them, but what next, kind of thing. What is going to come after you defeat them?
There'll always be. Well, that's the thing I've been looking into with Time Traveller is no matter how many times you stop something, there is a natural thing with time where it will try and fix itself, and thus you'll never entirely be safe. Like just because they stopped, it's happened in Series 3. They stopped Thorncorp and they thought, hooray, job done. But then in the Series 3, Quantum Technologies comes up.
Yep.
And it's just sort of left in the way of saying, nothing. What was it? Actually, yeah. There's another quote from Capaldi here from Doctor Who. Nobody ever wins for long.
Exactly, it's true, and I think that's what's interesting about this is that I think Robert comes from a very, despite being part of this big sort of world that you've created, he comes from a very human place as well. Like the people that he cared about got affected. The people that he loved, the people that he knew, they got affected on a very small scale compared to, like, we're talking big save the world stuff for these other people, but with Robert, it's all about the family, and it's all about the people that he lost, and the people he lost due to the fact that time changed. And it was just like, it's quite heartbreaking, really, that he's going through this, and I can, like, really relate to him as a character when he first comes in. Like, of course he's angry, of course he's, like, not happy with the people who have done this, because while we've been rooting for those people to win, actually it's created harm for other people. There's always a consequence to your actions.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking about this as well. The whole root of the series is say people's lives at the moment in the future are being harmed. We can stop that, and it's all like it is done in a very noble pursuit of things. But then you realise that there are some people who don't make it out all right. Like for example, in Time Travel Retribution, they talk about how, well, Robert says that Noah's sister, who he was fighting for, doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like she's dead. She'd never existed. And
Noah didn't know what would happen.
He knew the risks. His own sister doesn't exist in that timeline. He killed her.
Or maybe we're just in an alternate timeline.
No one should play God.
And yet here you are playing God right now by trying to keep this timeline flowing.
And he's talking about, and he's asking, how is that right? He went back in time and stopped Thorncorp from existing, but he also murdered his sister in doing so.
Yeah, unwillingly. I mean, they're messing with. It's like they say, don't play with fire. Like messing with time is basically the same thing. You're messing with time. You're gonna create ripples that you have no control over. You don't have control over what happens. And I think that's a lesson that Robert is just trying so hard to teach everyone else. And I don't think he's the bad guy. I don't think he's the good guy. He's just someone that sort of knows how it is, accepts how it is, and tries to make the best out of what he's got.
Well, that's why I find him so interesting, because he's the voice of reason when you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the wrong people, like, you know, to the wrong people, like the final act, like you're right, they don't want to hear it. The final act, actually, from the point of view of Robert, are antagonists. It's really interesting when you look at it like that, because, you know, you've got these power hungry people at Thorncourt, but actually, like, Robert is not power hungry. He doesn't want power. He just wants his slice of reality.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people are fighting for the power, I think, and that's what a lot of characters do. There's a lot of power play with a lot of characters, like not just in time travel, but other things too. They're trying to have it their way. I was reading a very, very interesting interview with someone called Michaela Cole, who recently created I May Destroy You, and in that interview she stated that that, you know, when like these revenge stories where you have people who go after these other people to get revenge, don't they just sort of become as bad? And is presenting that information to your audience doing the right thing for your audience? Is it actually stating to the audience, like, this is how it should be? Are the audience thinking that you only do well when you get one up on someone that's wronged you? And she was just talking about that. It's very interesting. I think it's quite interesting here because everyone's the hero in their own story. And so, you know, of course, I mean, I would even hazard a guess that, like, that Ollie's character would even state that he's the hero of his story, you know? I mean, actually, one of the best characters...
Well, yeah, because with Ollie's character, Thorn, he's trying to do these experiments to save his sister.
Yeah.
He's doing them for it's a noble, again, another noble cause. He's just trying to save his sister's life because she's terminally ill. So he's experimenting to try and, you know, create these superhumans that can survive anything, so that his sister can survive. And it makes, you know, it makes total sense. You know exactly where he's coming from. But on that pursuit, he has lost himself.
Exactly, and I think this is what makes the best characters, though. The characters that are doing things for a good motivation, for something that we can almost understand as to what we would be like. It always makes you think, what would I do if I was in that situation? If I was trying to save my loved one, what would I do?
Yeah.
And who would I become the antagonist to when I'm doing it? You know what I mean? And I think it's so interesting. I think that there's a lot of programs out there that treat people as the bad guys and the good guys, and you know, or you know what I mean by that. It's like, you know, there is no bad and good. There is only like the middle ground. And of course, we all have a bit of bad in us. We all have a bit of good in us. And I think that Robert, he kind of, like, the way he works is he does seem to be a lot on the bad side at first. When you first see him, you think he's an enemy, actually. But it's
because well, technically, when you first hear him, he's actually giving out a warning.
Yeah,
it's obvious that he doesn't like Crimson because he's just bad mouthing him every second he gets. But he is sending out a warning, going, "Oh, look what you've done now. This is going to happen, and you've got to try and stop it now before that." And then when he meets Aaron in I think the penultimate episode. Because he's not in it he's only in it and like for the first 2 episodes as a voice recording, and then he doesn't actually fully appear until the final 2 episodes. So he's not in it that much, but he makes an impact.
Yeah, for sure.
And but he just sort of, he does come across quite villainous because, you know, they're asking him for help and he's just laughing them, going, "Why? You did this? I'm just letting you know." And you know, what was the line he says? "I didn't send you on a mission. I told you what you needed to do, and like I predicted, you didn't do it."
Yeah. So
he's basically playing them. He was trying to teach them a lesson, but in the worst way possible. He was trying to say to them, "You can try all you want to change the future, but it will always happen."
Yeah.
So by warning them, it was all part of his power play of sort of showing them, "Yeah, you can't change this." I mean, and if you if you've watched the visual series, you'll know how that turns out.
Not good. Sorry, I didn't spoil anything there, but but yeah, I would say I would say that this is why making a series with Robert in was really important and really interesting to me, because I think he was a character that didn't get a lot of screen time, for various reasons. Obviously, we don't live very close to each other as well. There was we didn't have a lot of time to film
we
it.
shot all of your scenes and did all the recordings in a day.
Exactly. So like we had very limited time.
Don't you miss when we could do that?
Yeah. I mean those were good days. They were good days, and
because
actually
not only did we film Time Traveller, but we were also shooting that short film Saving Grace.
Exactly.
At the same time,
which we shot in a day, which is insane.
Well, Saving Grace we shot over 3 days, but it was like 1 day of pretty much the whole film, and then 2 days of just little pickup bits with other characters.
Yeah, no, I remember it very well, and it was a great film. Actually, really enjoyed making that film, and I think Yeah,
because the first filming day, I know we're going a bit off tangent here, but just remembering it, the first filming day was just some pickup shots with you by yourself in the house, because we would get them out of the way.
Yeah.
And then the last day was yourself and PMG, who everyone else probably know more as Peter M. George. And then the second day was just basically everything else. And It was about, how long were we filming for? Like 10 to 12 hours?
Yeah, it was a long day, but we got it done, and it looks nice, and it was, I still think there's a part of that filmmaker in me still. Like I changed actually a little bit when it came to that, because I started to do things more professionally, where I do like 5 pages a day, and
I've been trying to keep to that in between working and everything. I'm like, okay, I can either edit up to 5 pages of audio drama, or I can write 5 pages of audio drama. I've not kept to it very well. I've been trying it for about 3 months, and sometimes it's only once a week. But it's just trying to find that work, because that work ethic,
It is, yeah. And I mean, you're doing the noble thing of mixing it in with actual, your full-time job as well, which is obviously very challenging. Whereas I'm quite lucky; I haven't got a full-time job, and which means that I can explore like different things and work on different things a lot more. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of things have changed in terms of that. But in terms of your audios, like I love being involved in your audios. They're so good, because actually, funnily enough, little secret, but by the time Chadders puts the audios out there for me to listen to, I've forgotten what I've actually said, because he's very much on top of what he's doing. And I must have recorded them at least 6 months ago. And it's a really lovely thing for me to be able to sit down and listen with fresh ears, not knowing what's going on. Particularly when you do your own project, you know it back to front, and it kind of takes away from having any enjoyment from it. But actually, I'm very lucky, because having done this, I can go and listen to it with fresh ears and go, oh yeah, I remember that now. That's so cool. And I'm so proud of being part of it. So it's really nice, and all I have to do really is go and grab the mic, like I've done for this particular recording, and just record all the lines, and then send them over to Chadders, and then the magic happens.
And then about a year later, you hear it.
Yeah, I honestly remember a couple of months ago, there was something that came out with my name on it. I was like, right, okay, I didn't know I was in that. I didn't know that was me. I can't even remember being part of that particular thing, and I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a listen. Oh, that's what it was. But no, it's good. It's really good.
Which one was that? I'm trying to remember now.
I don't know if it was. The thing is, I might be quoting this completely wrong, but I think it must have been one of the Young Doctor's adventures.
Oh yeah, it's Carrie Black, or maybe Time Traveller 2014, because you play Barry in that.
There's there's that as well. I went back to being Barry for a little bit. So yeah, these little things I don't remember, I just forget, because it's literally about an hour of my day, or maybe less, and then I'm very lucky in the fact that Chadders gets me involved. I remember actually listening to Chadders' first series of Doctor Who, Resurrection, and I was thinking, I hadn't seen Chadders in a while, and I was like, I need to get in contact with him. I need to be part of this, because it's just so good. And I did. I was like, if you need any voices, dude, I'm around. And you do every now and again, don't you? Like, Alan, I need you to give me a couple of voices now. And I'm like, okay, yep, sure. And then I'll get them over to you. And like I said, I'll have forgotten by the time it comes out because it's like 6 or 7 months later.
Well, it was different. The first role I gave you was in Resurrection season 2, and the only reason why that one's the most recent one was because it came out quickly, because that was when the escapade of making audios all the time started.
Yeah, and you were just getting into it, weren't you, properly? And then now, really, I would say you've developed a big bank of audios, haven't you? Now, and it's
at the moment I've only got a couple more releases left for the first half of next year. Two of them I've talked about. Actually, I don't know. I think I could probably say all of them. It was just the final volumes of Uncharted Past, and then there's the Torchwood audio drama I've mentioned on this podcast before, and then there's the Crimson Hunter, which we've actually announced, but I don't think a lot of people understood what Crimson Hunter was.
What is Crimson Hunter?
Remember Julia Breslin was the best assassin in the universe?
Of course, yes.
That's her name. Crimson Hunter is what she's known as.
Right, brilliant.
So we're probably going to put a little thing in it saying from the worlds of Resurrection or something, just so people are clear on it. Because I think it just said the Crimson Hunter, and it had Chelsea holding a knife up.
Right. Okay. Well,
but it had no other context, so I can imagine that maybe people know her as Julia Breslin, not as the Crimson Hunter.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun, though. That'll be a fun series, then. See, this is the thing. I love it,
it's already written.
You're always expanding the worlds, and I love that. I love the fact that you always have something new in the pipeline. And honestly, I think Overton Audios, like, you've got a big library now, and I think it'd be tricky to catch up. So it's going to anyone who wants to, spend many hours listening to something, listen to Chadder's audios on Overton Audios, because they'll take up a lot of your time.
Yeah, you're plugging it better than I am.
Yeah, no, I love them. I'm a big fan. So,
thank you, mate. Yeah, with Robert though, I'm looking forward to him coming over to audio. That honestly, it was for the final act. It was really. I found it so great to hear Robert and Noah talking, because they don't meet in Retribution. They don't like one another. But Robert, well, I think in that case, Robert was actually trying to avoid Noah.
Turn around and face me. I'm armed, Crimson.
Robert, you always are.
Then do as I say. Turn around. Agent Nathan, a pleasure to be in your company.
Shut up!
No, you're not calling the shots here. You may have the bloodline, but you're not in a position of authority here.
He just did not want to see him, No,
he was very upset, and quite rightly too, as people will no doubt find out one day, possibly.
Yeah. But it was nice. It was nice editing conversations with them both when they didn't hate each other yet. It was nice to sort of see how they were, and also, I suppose, I don't know if it was like this for you, but to explore how they were before what we see in Retribution. Where that hate and is there. But it also paints Noah as the not so nice guy. We'll say that by the end of the final act. Do you think Robert's actions are completely justified?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll see how when it comes out.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. And when is that coming out?
Let me open up my little. I have to write up a schedule and things to do. It is coming out. The trailer will be out on the 10th of October.
Okay.
Followed by its release of the first episode on the 17th of October. Then it's out bi-weekly until the 28th.
Brilliant. Well, I for one am looking forward to hearing all the things that I did. But yes, thank you for having me on the podcast, Shadows.
No worries, Alan. And we'll go back to myself and Dan, which will be recorded in the future.
Ooh, future you.
So that was a segment with Allan. I had a lot of fun doing that bit with Allan because we talked very deeply about Robert Black's character. And it's not often we get to talk about character so deeply. Usually we're just sort of talking about the story and how it happened, etc. But whilst we did that, we also talked about who his character was, because they make a comeback after 3 years in this volume. So it was nice. It was nice to talk. You remember Robert Black, don't you? Because you play Jason in Retribution. So
Yeah. I remember Retribution, and although he's a very cool character. I'm glad we're now going to be exploring more of him within the audios, and I just think because we got a lot of good moments with him, and we have a bit of backstory in what his mission was. But I'm glad, we're getting more of him, because we were going to do more, like we're going to explore more of that character originally, and I'm glad we still are.
Yeah. But shall we have a read of some comments, sir?
Yep. I've only got one new comment.
All right, I'll read mine first. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. Right. I've got some comments on episode 4 of Doctor Who Resurrection Season 4, Schiller's Delicatessen, which was written by Charlie Patricks, and I did some script editing here and there. But he's been very patient. He wrote it back in April last year, and he was sort of roughly the same age as John at the time. So
oh really?
Yeah. So it's been it feels like a lifetime for him. But we had some comments such as, why does the Master's voice actor look so much like Adric?
That's has John seen that one yet?
Yes, me and John have discussed that one at length and gone, how? We don't, Matthew Waterhouse isn't Asian. So I don't know if that's just I don't know. I don't understand.
Definitely not, but I think John has earned himself a new nickname of Adric.
Yeah, we're like, all right, Adric. So, other comments, also in the same episode, from TARDIS Glitch. This was a great story, and the fact that I recently did the assassination in history, I kept an ear out and listened to see how accurate it was. And it was, which is great. And the Master and the Rani working together once more is brilliant. I can't keep saying how proud I am of how the Rani and the Master story have come together, because remember when we were making The Candidate and Return of the Rani, I said this is going to be a big story that gets woven into Resurrection Season 4, and there were a couple of times when we were writing The Candidate where you sort of had to stop me and say, stop setting plot points for your own series. This is my Doctor. Stop talking about yourself.
Yeah, I didn't mind it was interconnected, but at the same time it had to be its own thing with my Doctor, and I'm glad we were able to do that, as well as that lead some plot elements for you to then feed on for season 4 of Resurrection.
Yeah. I got some more comments. Always comments. I got some comments from on Outside the Government Beyond the Peelers, which was written by John N. Harper, who is the Master as well. I've got a comment going, once again, you have managed to make a truly beautiful episode. I'm loving how you link all of these episodes together. I think it's so disappointing that you make the best Doctor Who series, and yet you only have 237 subscribers.
It is injustice.
I mean, I don't know how to ever take these sort of comments, because, again, I'm very grateful. I just get very shy about it, you know? So thank you very much, but there are others out there, like Dan and Luke, and there's Doctor Who Velocity, there's, what was it, DDK Productions?
Yeah, and also Homeland, and
there's
Homeland
obviously, there's John's Doctor Who series as well. He does his own if you've heard Resurrection Season 2, you'll see that John actually makes a cameo as his Doctor, obviously from another universe. So he does exist in the multiverse. But yeah, I've now got 10 more subscribers since that comment, so I feel
definitely.
I feel like it'll get there more than likely. I know that by the time that Doctor Who stuff stops, we'll be at the point where I'll reach somewhere. You know, I'll just have to stick with it until then.
Definitely, yeah. But as well as like you do the most of any of us, and and I feel like you are deserving of a wider audience, sir.
Yeah.
But also, I like to see something more about like the about I'm trying to remember the episode titles because you wrote these episodes like beyond
outside the government, beyond the peelers.
The government, beyond the peelers, and the episode before that, which was Schindler's Delicatessen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You made 2 slight comments to the Irish Doctor.
Do I?
Well, the rhyme makes one.
I see. I'm afraid I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't you?
No, I'm afraid not. I don't know what are you talking about?
When the rhyme refers to definite improvements to the face.
Have you seen me?
Not saying you're not.
And then there was the other one. Like, there was the other one, wasn't there?
Nice to know that Ronnie thought I was ugly.
No, just not ugly. Ronnie's saying it out of spite. You know that.
Out of you. All right. Well, let's get back to the comments before we lose track again.
We got a comment on Desolation, which was a Rani-centric episode. It was a great episode. I also liked how you added the little details, such as the Rani's TARDIS being a Type 85, which is when 1985 was when her introduction as the Rani came about. That was unintentional, honestly.
Oh, really?
Genuinely never intended it to be that way. I just thought, I was trying to think of the different types they have, because Type 40, and I just thought 85 made sense for some reason. Like, it's not 80, it's not double, it's a bit more than that. But I genuinely wasn't intending for it to be a reference. I'm actually quite, taken aback by the fact that I somehow did it. But, oh well. But, and then the wrong cravat. Someone commented, I saw the cast and freaked out, but I can't listen to it right now, but I've certainly got something to look forward to. Yeah, the wrong cravat was an interesting one to make. It took the longest to record out of every episode, because it's tying up the parallel Doctor properly. Like, he just gets murdered at the end of series 1. Spoilers. And then, he just, we just carry on with the cravat Doctor. It can feel like a bit of a cheap swap. So Ollie put forward this idea to me, and he sent me all the story details he had in mind for it. I sat down and wrote it. He script edited it, and then we had another discussion about how it works, etc. And in the end, we came up with the wrong cravat.
Indeed, and it's a good type as well. And it also, because I played a Doctor as well in that universe, it's so good to tie up what happened with that.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what we use the original audio of yourself from 3 to 4 years ago. We just use that audio to tie up what happened to that Doctor, which, if should go without saying anyway, because Series 1 answered it, got erased from existence.
The English Doctor does. Yeah, the English Doctor was an abomination. It should not have ever existed.
But the point being is, it was never made clear, because he appeared and then just disappeared and then reappeared and left, and then that was over the course of a few episodes, bear in mind. But this was actually the definitive answer, showing what happened, because once the parallel Doctor leaves in the story, time resets to the way it should always be.
Yeah.
Because essentially it's like one of those, it's like going into a bubble, It's like going into, what I mean? Like when you pop a bubble, it just goes, but imagine being able to get through it. and then the bubble is just this little area where the parallel doctor is allowed to exist for a certain amount of time. And as soon as he leaves, the bubble doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the highlights of the comments. You said you had comments or singular? I don't know which one you said.
I had one. It's from episode 2 of Fractured Timeline. It's says love the story, pacing, and love the story, the pacing, and the everything. Take care and be well. And that was from Allan Bullet.
Oh, very nice.
I don't know. So thank you very much, Alan. And yeah, I think episode 2 is probably from what I've written is my favorite story pacing wise. And it's the first time I ever actually wrote for my own doctor, believe it or not. So
episode 1 was was it co-written with you and Luke?
Yeah, so episode 2 was a big thing for me to write my own story for my own doctor, and I've wrote a lot more ever since, but still, it was the first time I wrote for the Irish Doctor by myself, and I like to think it was a success.
Yeah, I think so. I think it worked nicely. It's a really nice, eerie episode as well. So it worked really,
It's my first time as well. This was my first time writing something eerie. I'm not a horror-based writer, but still, I think it was my first attempts into eerie horror suspense. I think was quite well.
Yeah, I think so. Good.
Yeah, that's all the comments I have. Again, I don't get many comments because I don't turn out as much content as Chatters does here.
Oh.
But speaking of Fractured Timeline, there's just something I want to bring up. I'm just going to bring this up now on the podcast. In the past couple of weeks and months, probably since the start of the year, we've been getting questions about episode 4, and we've always been saying, "Oh, this year we'll get episode 4 done. Episode 4 is going to be so big that we'll get it done this year." And then COVID happened, and then lockdown happened, and we always thought we were saying optimistically we could still get it done. By downgrading the story, we can get it done. But now we are in a situation currently where we cannot risk family members to any sort of exposure from the virus. We've got family members who are in very critical care, and we don't want to risk them by going to film and then bringing anything back to them. It's just, we can't risk that at the moment. So right now, we can only really film once the infection rates of the virus have gone down to nearly nothing, or a vaccine is found. So, till further notice, Fractured Timeline is in hiatus.
We'll discuss about being able to try and make some form of content in that time. I think,
like audios
because again, completely 100% agree with you and Anya on this situation. Obviously, do what's best, which is what you're doing. I do think that there is, like we've done with Uncharted Past, there is the opportunity there, and obviously we've seen it in Short Tales as well. There is the opportunity there to still create content, I think.
Yeah, currently
but just be understanding for those of you who are listening that visual content, you have to meet people to do it, and right now, Dan and Anya aren't in the position to do so.
Yeah, and it's just we're currently talking about potentially doing audios, not to turn the remaining episodes of Fractured Timeline into audios, just so that it just paves the way towards episodes releases, so that the adventures of Maggie and the Doctor are continued in a way.
Well, not to add any fuel to the fire here, but isn't when episode 2 starts, hasn't Maggie been travelling in the TARDIS for 10 months?
Exactly. So there's been a 10-month period where they've been traveling together, and we've actually really explored a little bit of that with Cyclones at Abbey Street, because it said that they've been traveling together for 3 months.
Yeah.
So
that's still set of 7 months before Born in Darkness even happens.
Yeah, so we've got so much space there to tell stories. So there's always a plan to have that gap there to tell stories for when the series is done. But I suppose now that with what's going on with the world, it's better that we explore whilst we're in lockdown.
Yeah, it's something to do, isn't it?
Yeah, we shouldn't make any promises because now people are coming asking.
No. By any means here, I'm just saying, like I said at the beginning of it, we should probably discuss doing something like that.
We will soon see. We'll soon see. We'll get back to you guys on the progress on this here if we do decide to go forward. But currently, it's just an idea, and it's an idea that has a lot more. It's got a lot more ground to stand on because of what's been going on. Because we don't want to leave the Dr. and Maggie story for another year. We want to tell more stories with these characters because I love the characters and I love the story we're telling with them. And I feel that if we leave it too long, that the interest for these characters will die down a little bit. So yeah, that's the Fractured Timeline update.
Yeah, and I think that is time on the podcast now. I think everything we wanted to say has been said.
Yeah, but thankfully we had something to talk about with this. Thankfully, I've had something to talk about because of the short tales. Because I feel like I've just been tagging along in these podcasts, just nodding. It's like, yes, you guys are making stuff, and I'm not.
Oh, sir. Well, don't worry. When Time Travel starts kicking off, we'll both be talking about it, I imagine.
Definitely, yeah. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We hope that everyone is well in the current climate, that everyone's staying safe, and thank you for your understanding regarding Fractured Timeline. See, look, we're both making announcements. I made an announcement last month, and now you're doing one this month.
Yay!
What horrors will meet us next month?
God knows, 2020
Overton Audios is over.
No. Well, 2020 is still young, my friend.
Oh God, don't tempt it.
All right, thank you guys for listening, and stay tuned for more.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Bye.